Hola, buenas tardes. Ernesto Quintero here with video 5 of our ALS video series. I'll be covering a little more about ALS and things you can do to adjust as things start happening to your loved one. Anyhow, the way you are diagnosed with ALS is basically by a visual examination the doctor does. You go into his office or his clinic and he looks at your body, and if he sees these twitching nerves that are descriptive of ALS, he basically says, you have ALS, you have 2 to 5 years to live, go home and die, which is basically what happened to my brother, just like that. There are two types of ALS. Only 9% of patients that have ALS have the one that's passed on through your genes from generation to generation. It'll skip generations sometimes, but that one's called familial ALS, and thank God we don't have that one. ALS manifests in different ways. It could either start at the bottom with your legs and move up to through your body, up to your arms and into your neck and tongue area, or it can be the opposite. And for my brother Juan, his first symptom happened in his right arm, and then moved on to his left arm, and then paralysis took over his legs, and then it moved up to his body and his neck, and then lastly his tongue muscles, and all he has left right now are his eye muscles. He could basically move his eyes kind of like this. He's 97% paralyzed, and the only reason he's still with us is because he chose to continue living on a ventilator. And a ventilator is basically artificial lungs, and there's only 9% of all ALS cases that continue living on a ventilator. So there's something to that I want to share a little later as to why Juan chose a ventilator, but I'll do that in a different video. Making adjustments. When paralysis starts happening and you start losing mobility, it begins very difficult to accept. So what made it easier for Juan is that we started anticipating things and started to see what was going to happen. So thinking ahead is really helpful. For example, when Juan couldn't use his arms anymore, or he lost one of his arms, it was difficult for him to unbutton his pants. So my mom created this Velcro system that basically allowed us or any nurse or anybody helping his kids helping him to just basically rip his pants open when he needed to use the restroom. That's one. The jumping nerves in your body, which are called fasciculations, were haunting my brother Juan at night. Basically, they were jumping so apparently that they began messing with his head and he couldn't sleep. So what we did to adjust was we put him in the car. Sometimes it was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and we drive around town up and down the freeways and until Juan fell asleep. And those nights we would fall asleep in the car with him because we park and we don't want to wake him up. And another adjustment was, or not adjustment, but something we did was we anticipated that he was going to need a wheelchair ramp. And so his friends jumped in and they built a wheelchair ramp for Juan so that when he got on the wheelchair, he had access to his porch and his house. So basically the overall statement here, or advice in our experience, is to think ahead, get creative, know that these things are going to happen whether we like it or not, and just be prepared so that your loved one can have a quality of life that he deserves. Peace and blessings.